With all of the jazz around Heartseeker, I wanted to go and try out how Rogue actually is going to feel when you can stutter step and basically play Bone Spear but on a different class. For this, I created a Barrage leveling guide that is then going to evolve into the Heartseeker build that you probably see running around everywhere. So if you like to stutter step and be at range and shoot an insane amount of projectiles and also want to have an easy transition into the S tier build that is Heartseeker, I have just the guide for you. The leveling build basically revolves around just holding down right click as much as possible and never having to worry about your energy. In this, you are going to stack a little bit of resource cost reduction, and if you have Ubers, this is going to make the leveling even more fun because you have way more damage, way more AoE, but they are not required. This build is easily playable in the Nightmare Dungeons, in the Helltide, as soon as you have all of your glyphs at 15, for example. This way, it's also going to be very, very easy to get to a point where you are maxing out your Iron Wolves 18 with this new character. Again, basically running around in a Helltide or a Nightmare Dungeon, depending on where you are right now, just holding down right click feels insane. Sometimes you can press dash, you can press Shadow Step to move around fairly quickly, and you will also have imbuements that you can use, but you don't even need to because Barrage is fairly strong and is clearing the whole screen for you while you are holding down your right click. For this, I have a multi-variant planner set up for you guys. This will be linked down in the description below, and as you can see right here, we do have a low-level Barrage, which you are going to be building as long as you don't have that much of resource cost reduction. If you have Ubers, you can even giga juice this up with a Shaco and a Starless, which is going to make this such a fun experience. It's going to be incredible. And then you are going to transition into the late game Barrage version, which you are going to use to then farm up the gear that you need for your Heartseeker build. You can't instantly play Heartseeker because you need quite a lot of lucky hit chance. You will find a lot of greater FX lucky hit chance items here. You basically stack it everywhere possible so you can actually get that lucky hit chance up very, very high because we are relying on Victimize for our AoE damage. And we need the lucky hit to activate the Victimize on our targets with the Heartseeker, which has a base lucky hit chance of 50%. And then you will have big Victimize explosions going off every time you proc the lucky hits here. And this Victimize damage is going to be scaling with 100% of your vulnerable damage. So not only do you need a lot of lucky hit chance on your gear, but you also need to have a lot of vulnerable gear, increasing your main source of damage with a multiplier. So you can see there are bits and pieces that you need to acquire first so you can transition into Heartseeker. Therefore, I came up with the idea of Barrage, where you are basically shooting a lot of projectiles already and then can safely farm up the gear required to make the Heartseeker swap. In the low-level Barrage, you are going to start out with combo points because early on the Barrage energy cost of 30 is quite high. So what you're going to do is you do puncture, 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 Barrage. Puncture, 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 Barrage. And that is basically going to one-shot everything on your screen. It's quite a lot of damage, especially if you have the 3 combo points always before you use your Barrage. That is then going to change as soon as you require stuff like resource cost reduction on your jewelry mainly, or some stuff like energy per second on your items themselves. So your chest, your helmet, also the boots could work, although it's not really that necessary because you will have the resource cost reduction. Again, obviously, if you add the Shaco in the mix, maybe from your main, or maybe you have a spare one flying around, and the Starless, then you can instantly go and level with the Giga Juice low-level version right here. And then you basically even don't even need to play the combo points here because then you are going to go and play Inner Sight. You could also already go to the Barrage version. I would recommend this as soon as you literally can hold down your right click and not have to worry about your resources. Then you can swap to the Barrage variant right here. So that should be around level 30, 40, 50, depending on how lucky you get with the resource cost reduction jewelries and also with the energy per second armor items. Now, the cool thing about the Heartseeker build is that we are playing around a basic skill. Obviously, we are trying to give the basic skill as many skill points as possible with the pants right here. And then you are boosting the damage with Moonrise, which is going to give you more attack speed and is going to give you a Blood Rage, which is going to increase the basic skill damage by 160%. And then on top of that, we are using the adaptability on the necklace, which is further going to increase your basic skill damage by 120%, because we are basically always casting Heartseeker above 50 maximum resource. All of the other aspects are here to just increase your DPS or give you some defense. For example, we are increasing the basic skill attack speed. We also want to have the Accursed Touch for our vulnerability. There is also a way of getting the lucky hit chance to make enemies vulnerable on the rings, for example, but I find this to be the more elegant solution to the vulnerable problem. And then we just have normal stuff, might, because we are basically casting Heartseeker all of the time. We have this permanently active without even needing to worry. We want to have Umbrus to get our Dark Shroud up, which is going to be a huge part of our defensive setup. And then we have the Assimilation, which gives us a little bit more dodge. If you don't have that much dodge, I would really suggest that you don't do the Assimilation, or you could do Shared Misery, for example, which is going to help you with CC a little bit. Or on the other hand is you could use Enshrouding to be that much more defensive. In this case, it is not about gaining the Dark Shroud stacks because you're getting those over the lucky hit through the lucky hit chance. It's more about increasing your damage reduction by a lot. So if you have a lot of dodge chance on your gear already, Assimilation is going to give you quite a lot of value, because not only are you getting more dodge, but you're also basically always fortified. But I would say you need at least 40% dodge chance on your character sheet that you will have enough value of Assimilation. Else, I would go with the Shared Misery instead, or maybe even the Enshrouding aspect, depending on which type of content you're doing. For the Paragon, for me, it was extremely important that you don't have to change a lot when it comes to the change from Barrage to Heartseeker. It is currently extremely important, for me at least, to have the exploit glyph right here very, very early on, because you are going to make everything that you damage vulnerable for 3 seconds. That's basically their entire lifespan, and maybe even double that with this build. So you don't ever have to worry about vulnerable whatsoever. This Barrage version uses all of the glyphs required for the Heartseeker version, so you don't have to re-level any glyphs here. But what you need to do, unfortunately, is you need to swap around the boards a little bit. Number 1 board, the starter board, is going to be the same, and the rest is going to be a little bit more optimized for Heartseeker. When you want to switch from the Barrage version to the Heartseeker version, it is going to be extremely important that you double check your lucky hit chance bonus. In my opinion, it started to feel very, very good as soon as you hit 30% lucky hit chance, because then you will get a reliable amount of the victimized procs that we were talking about. But what's also extremely important is that you get a bow with chance for Heartseeker projectiles to cast twice, because that is just going to increase the amount of projectiles you have on your screen, therefore tremendously increasing your AoE damage potential. The single target is actually fairly good, and you don't even have to worry about that. But the victimize is what is going to bring the most damage. Now, if you can't wait until that point to swap to Heartseeker, there is a little bit of a trick that I can give you right here, and I'm also using this to increase the damage, is the Elixir of Advantage, because not only are you getting 15% attack speed, but you also increase your lucky hit chance by 15%. So this is not only going to make the switch to Heartseeker a little bit easier, but as soon as you have established your gear in the Heartseeker version, this is also going to give you a huge boost in DPS. I'm currently using the Heartseeker Rogue to take a little bit of time off my Necro and enjoy some other very, very nice build in Diablo 4's Season 4. So with this, I can very, very easily clear 64s in the pit and basically look at chat all the time while I'm just collecting some Neath Iron for the account that I can then use on all of the other characters. In my opinion, this is one of the coolest builds to play if you just want to have a little bit of ranged fun and you enjoy stutter stepping, and it's also a really, really relaxed build where you basically just run around and right click a lot. Also, same concept applies to the Barrage leveling guide that basically gets you to the point where you can play Heartseeker. And if you want to see all of this live, I suggest you check out the Twitch that is going to be linked down in the description, as well as the Maxroll planners for all of that which you have seen during the video. And if you like content similar to this, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.